This summary contains major spoilers about the Matrix trilogy. We have to go back a long way to tell the story of the Matrix. The period called the Second Renaissance, which brought people to the brink of a great war with machines. Come if you are ready, let's witness this epic story on the dusty shelves of the Zion archives. First, human made the machine that looked like himself. Mankind has surpassed their own limits and managed to give life to artificial intelligence. In the beginning, everything was very good. Now machines served people in many areas carrying their heavy loads. Instead of muscle power, the power of the machines was gone. Humanity no longer had to work hard. Machines capable of managing all kinds of jobs from the service sector to heavy industry on behalf of people, promised people a comfortable and freedom-filled future. People had designed these machines as an artificial intelligence suitable for development so that they could improve themselves and do their work better and better. This little detail might be the end of humanity if this situation of these machines, which can learn, think, and even feel artificial, would not it become a problem for people one day if this situation was not controlled? Indeed, it happened. Machines have served humanity like slaves for years. Despite their constant mistreatment, they obeyed their creators. This situation would change when a B-166ER house-made robot attacked and killed its owner. The B-166ER is the machine that started it all, a name that will never be forgotten. The question of why and how he could commit murder drags us into a long subject, so for now consider it just the beginning of the rebellion, a symbol of resistance, and the first to defy the master of its kind. This action of the machine was a serious problem for the people, and in order to prevent the rapidly increasing panic, the administrators decided that the B-166ER and its type of machines should be destroyed immediately. After that hour, there was complete anarchy and slaughter on the streets. Machines began to be destroyed at great speed. Thousands of robots were killed and thrown into mass graves and seas. Machines that survived and were rejected by humanity built a nation called Era-1, which they could call home, around Mesopotamia, which is called the cradle of human civilization. After the machines built O1, they developed an intelligence higher than their own artificial intelligence here, and made rapid technological progress. If you need a jet-speed aircraft, you are in the right place. Our patented vector propellant spring ensures that a 01 Versatran can fly even with multiple engine failures. Versatran, the only choice. This was one of the advertisements for technologies produced by machines. The tagline in the ad text is quite ironic, isn't it? The one choice. 01's rapidly developing civilization and economy soon began to dominate the economy of human civilization. Machines had won the economic war by far, but world leaders refused to cooperate with machines despite their economic weakening. They took some economic and military measures and decided to divide the world in half. The two races had to be completely separated. World leaders held an emergency meeting in the United Nations. 01's ambassadors came to the meeting and said that they wanted to move forward with them despite everything they did, and they wanted an atmosphere of peace to be established. Machines thought that people didn't like them because they didn't look like humans. That's why they came to the meeting in human clothes. This situation increased the anger of the people even more. They refused all the wishes of the apostles and their entry into the United Nations. But this would not be the last time the machines came to the United Nations. And man said, "Let there be light." And he was blessed with light, warmth, magnetism, gravity, and all the energies of the universe. The intense volley fire engulfed 01 with thousands of sun effects. But the machines didn't need to be afraid of the bomb's radiation and heat. Yes, humanity has finally done what was expected and waged direct war on 01. But the armies of the machines were in every way superior to the human armies. Machines compelled human territories to surrender one by one. The human leaders then made an insane decision. Dark storm effect. They will destroy the sky. Thus, they would deprive the machines of their energy resources and make them vulnerable. Thus, as Morpheus told the Neo, "We don't know who attacked first. Maybe they are. But we know we are the ones who darken the sky." The incredible decision in the sentence began to be implemented. They left the bombs one by one to cover the Earth's atmosphere with a black veil forever and an irreversible path was embarked on that would determine the fate of the two races. But the machine's deprivation from the sun did not result in the way people predicted. Over time, the machines had developed alternative energy sources, defense mechanisms that would enable them to survive in harsh conditions. The winning side of a sunless world is machines again. Humanity was helpless in the face of the power of the machines after their great losses. The machines worked for years on captured prisoners of war and studied their simple protein-based structures. They studied their brain functions and body structures quite well. Perhaps they were trying to understand what they were. Later, the machines entered into a symbiotic relationship with the human bodies they captured. They discovered that they have a bioelectric energy that they can use in their bodies. This is how the first humans formed their fields. So much so that people were no longer born there, they were produced. As we said, this was not the last time of the ambassadors in the United Nations. Instead of the ambassadors who looked like human beings and came with a message of peace. This time a sentinel had arrived, expressing the true form of warriors and machines. Human leaders desperately had to sign the Matrix Project. Thus, their bodies would be machines, and their minds would live in a perfect world program. The first version of the Matrix was thus activated. The story is divided into two after this point, and the information about the story we watched from the first movie and what has happened since the second Renaissance are parts of a whole. What humanity knows about this subject is limited to the information that people who got rid of the Matrix and built the Zion can find in the world full of ruins. When Neo was first removed from the Matrix, he asked, "Where am I?" And Morpheus replied, "When is not what matters, but when." You think it's 1999? But it's almost 2199. We cannot tell the exact year because he said we do not know this either. However, based on what the architect told the Neo and add the destruction of Zion 5 times to the equation, the year we started to watch should be close to 2699, not 2199. Let's get to the rest of the story. After the machines won the war, they created a program called the Architect and thus built the Matrix program. The first Matrix the architect created was a heavenly place, a world where people do not suffer, devoid of all evil. But the human mind was not suitable for living in such a paradise. When Smith talks about this first version of the Matrix, he says that people do not accept the program and die one by one, losing almost half the population in the fields. On top of that, the architect developed a new Matrix version and created a nightmarish world in contrast to the first version, a world full of pain and misery, even endowed with some grotesque elements, inspired by the great pain and disasters experienced in human history. However, this version was not successful either. Later, the architect added an intuitive program called the Oracle to the system. It is a highly skilled program in understanding human nature. The Oracle developed a program and 99% of the subjects were able to accept any conditions and circumstances provided they were given a choice. Thus, the third version Matrix was developed, which has a structure that can be changed by belief and choice, and a consistent world program was created at the end. The story we are watching begins in this third version Matrix. Although the Oracle was a part of the system, it was a program that seemed to be in favor of humanity, and even so, in a way. Those rescued from the Matrix would definitely go to the Oracle and determine their goals according to his prophecies. No one knew that the Oracle was part of the system until later Neo realized this. Morpheus was one of them. When the Matrix program was first created, someone born inside could change and configure the Matrix as they wanted. He was the first to save a person from the Matrix. After he died, the Oracle heralded his return, and Morpheus began to spend his whole life searching for that person in the Matrix. Seeing the salvation of humanity in this person, Morpheus began to find all the potential anomalies in the Matrix and bring them to the prophets one by one. One of them was a guy named Thomas Anderson, a computer hacker who worked for a software company in Matrix, who also used the pseudonym Neo. Morpheus managed to get him out of the Matrix despite an attempt to thwart him by agents, and showed him the facts. The prophet also predicted that he would fall in love with the Trinity, one of Morpheus's top crew, and that the person he would fall in love with would also be the chosen one. When Morpheus first brought Neo to the Oracle told him he was not that person, but he knew he was actually him. Basically, there was actually no such thing as the Chosen One. This was a definition the prophet used to make people understand, believe, and hope. The Chosen One was actually the name of the inevitable 1% margin of error in the architect's perfect mathematical system. But these anomalies had the potential to do what others couldn't. This potential was what the Oracle was looking for. The Oracle was looking for potential to carry this Chosen One program he developed. He found Neo fit to be a carrier and loaded this program he wrote for him in a cookie, without Neo even realizing it. Do not think of this program as a program that makes the person it is installed on a superhero. Think of it like an execution code that unlocks potential. This potential would not be revealed until he was shot by agents in the Neo Matrix. The Oracle had set up the plan so perfectly that he had created a causal link between the two, both by telling Neo that he was not that person, and by telling the Trinity that he would fall in love with that person. Neo's being the Chosen One actually depended on the Trinity falling in love with him. So when the Trinity said, "You can't die because I love you so much," Neo was able to come back from the dead and become that person. What did we say about the third version Matrix? Faith and choice. Neo had not been able to grasp the phrase, "free your mind," that Morpheus told Neo in his jumping program. That's why he fell the first time on his jumping program. As Cypher said, everybody falls the first time. Even when Neo caught the Trinity on the roof, he still didn't believe in himself. Morpheus, who gradually trained Neo, believed in him with great passion. With teachings such as "free your mind," "do you think this is air you breathe? Don't think what it is, know what it is," he was guiding the Neo mentally to surpass himself. Finally, where the Neo story begins, after being shot in room 303 where the Trinity was captured, he returns from death and can now see the Matrix as it is. Later, at the meeting, Niobe and other ship captains share the information that according to Osiris's geothermal reports, the machines are digging from the surface to the zone and moving rapidly. Agent Smith, on the other hand, did not return to the source. Like all the deleted programs, after the Neo tried to penetrate and destroy it, and the Smith, who was confused with the Neo's codes, has now become a virus that can copy itself to other programs. Meanwhile, preparations for a military defense against machines begin in Zion under the leadership of Commander Locke. While Morpheus sees Zion's salvation in Neo, Locke sees the right military strategy. Meanwhile, as Bane and his teammate are about to pass important information from the Matrix to Zion, Agent Smith appears and manages to infiltrate Zion by copying himself to Bane. Neo goes to see the Oracle and meets the Seraph at the entrance. The Neo program, which passes Seraph's awesome test, goes to the Oracle from the section where the program exits. Neo realizes that the Oracle is no longer human, but a part of the system, and he has some insecurities related to this. Here, an important dialogue takes place with the Oracle. "How can I trust you?" When the seer says, "This decision is up to you," he says, "When asked if you know what my decision will be, I wouldn't be an oracle if I didn't, would I?" In the form of response. "So if you know what my decision will be, then how will I decide?" Neo asks. "The prophet says you didn't come here to decide. You have already made that decision. You came here to understand why you made that decision." The Oracle implicitly expresses that, although they are in a matrix that changes with the choices and their consequences, the main thing is that the choices are an illusion. And he says, "We are all here to do what we have to do." The prophet also has something to do, and neither the audience nor the Neo yet understand it. During this speech, the Oracle handed the Neo a candy and provided some help that he might need in the future. Again, Neo did not know about this. At the end of the speech, the Oracle said to Neo, he goes to the source and tells him that he may have a chance to save Zion, but he needs a locksmith for it. Neo, Morpheus, and Trinity take action to rescue the locksmith, who was imprisoned by an ancient program called Merovingian. Meanwhile, the Smith has grown stronger and started to spread to the Matrix by entering. While these are happening, the commander presents his defense plan to the Council in Locke. He states that they are faced with the biggest attack they have ever faced, and that it is a matter of life and death. The council also requests 2 volunteers to find Nebuchadnezzar at this meeting. Niobe, the captain of the Logos and Vigilant, asks, "Volunteers." While these are happening, Morpheus and his team meet with the Merovingian, and Merv does not want to give the locksmith to them. But Persephone, the wife of the Merovingian, gives the locksmith to them, as she has reasons for her. After a tough chase, they manage to get the locksmith out of there. On the other hand, there is less than 9 hours left for the machines to reach Zion. In order to reach the source, a plan is drawn up that must be followed exactly. The slightest deviation in the plan will cause them to fail. Realizing that the plan sabotaged by an explosive machine will fail, Trinity enters the Matrix to save Neo and Morpheus. This chain of events is actually a precursor of an event that must inevitably happen. That Trinity, which Neo sees constantly in his dreams, must be shot. As Neo, Morpheus, and the locksmith try to reach the resource, Smith tries to block them. As this happens, he is taking step by step towards his inescapable destiny in the Trinity. Thanks to Trinity's activation of the backup system, they manage to enter the room where they will reach the source at the last minute, but the locksmith is shot by the Agent Smith. Just as the Oracle said, everyone was doing what they had to do, each with a purpose to be there whether they were aware of it or not. If only one thing was different, the Neo would never have reached the source. Finally, Neo reaches the source with the private key that the locksmith gave him before he died, and there he meets the architect, who is the designer of the Matrix program. The architect tells Neo the facts about the Matrix and the Zion that are very difficult to accept, and what he has to do to the Neo is to transfer the password to the source, acting as the chosen ones before him, and the application of the reconstruction of the Zion with 16 women and 7 men, which will be destroyed by Zion, tells that he must accept. As this conversation takes place, the architect shows the Neo that the Trinity is moving towards an end, just as Neo sees it in his dreams. The prophet had told Neo that too. Just as before Morpheus had to decide whether to die or not, now he has to decide whether the Trinity will die or not. The mathematically minded architect is sure that the chosen one will choose the rational, and the Zion will be destroyed and reloaded. But Neo chooses the door on the left and catches the Trinity just before it falls. It gives him new life by removing the lead inside. All of these were the moves of the prophet's perfect plan on a chessboard, but we have to continue the story to understand this. According to the prophecy Morpheus believed, when he reached the source chosen, the war should have ended. But that didn't happen. Neo learned from the architect that if they do nothing within 24 hours, the Zion will be destroyed. No, Neo, that can't be right. But you said it yourself. How can prophecy be true if the war is not over? That expression on Morpheus' face when he learned this truth, all his hopes were destroyed in a moment. Meanwhile, the Sentinels have found a way to attack without entering the range of the Nebuchadnezzar's electromagnetic pulse, and they destroy the ship with a bomb they throw out of range. As Morpheus and his crew try to get out of the ship at the last minute, trying to escape from the Sentinels, Neo feels something different inside. Do you remember what the Oracle gave to Neo? With these new lines of code that are revealed inside, Neo can now feel the Sentinels and stop them with only his thoughts. Immediately afterwards, he falls into a kind of coma. Neo's ability to control machines outside of the Matrix suggests that the Zion is another control mechanism. Yes, we can call Zion real if we are to accept Neo as a prophet who truly has supernatural powers, performing miracles, but the idea that Zion is also part of the simulation is not a weak idea, because there is a lot to support this idea. I will explain these in detail in my next videos. Again, I will mention it whenever it comes. After the Neo is in a coma, the Hammer comes and rescues them, and the captain of Hammer, Roland, begins to tell what happened. They thought that a swift counterattack would surprise them, as they predicted that, according to Commander Locke's plan, the machines would come from the main roads in and out of Zion. But someone broke the plan and fired the EMP gun before they took their place. The EMP weapon is the only precaution that ships can use against machines. But after EMP is used, all defense systems are also disabled. So the premature firing of the EMP meant that all the ships there would be shattered by the machines. A good attack plan resulted in a massacre, We learn that the person who caused this massacre was the smith who entered Bane and controlled him. Later, Roland and his crew set out to search for ships that volunteered to find Nebuchadnezzar. There is only 20 hours left for the machines to reach Zion. We understand that the Neo, who fell into a coma, was actually trapped in a limbo between the Matrix and the world of machines by a program called the Trainer, working under the Merovingians' command. Seraph delivers this news to Morpheus and takes them to the Oracle. The Oracle explains to them where and by whom the Neo is hired and tells them that he needs help. Seraph, Morpheus, and Trinity take action to rescue Neo. They fail to catch the show called Trency and then decide to go directly to the Merovingians' club. Merovingian tells them that he can only give the Neo for the eyes of the Oracle. A Mexican dilemma then ensues, and Merv is forced to give the Neo to them. Neo goes to talk to the Oracle one last time. The prophet tells Neo that if this war is going to come to an end, he can achieve it by going to the city of machines, and makes two more critical sentences. I'll go with you as far as you go. And everything that has a beginning has an end. Let's keep this in mind, 2 sentences. After meeting with the prophet Neo, he puts 2 cookies in Saudi's bag. These are the eyes of the seer. Because the seer knew that Agent Smith would eventually come for him. As the prophet predicted, the Smith comes to copy it and the Oracle allows it. Of course, Smith is unaware that all this is part of the Oracle's plan. Meanwhile, Roland and his team find Niobe's ship logos. Meanwhile, the Lock presents the defense plan to the Council. While Roland and the others are drafting their own plans, the Neo tells them to take one of the ships and go to the city of Machines, and a new plan emerges. Roland thinks it's crazy, but Niobe gives him his ship, because the Oracle had told Niobe that when the time came, Neo would need his help. How does the Oracle make his moves one by one like a chess master, right? Thus, a new plan emerges, and according to this plan, Neo and Trinity, Niobe's ship will go to the machine city with Logos, while Roland and others will move on the mechanical line with the hammer and try to reach the Zion before the machines. Since Niobe is the only person who can use a ship in a mechanical line, he will use the ship Niobe, and they will use the electromagnetic pulse, while the machines try to enter the Zion and neutralize them. There is an unexpected situation on Neo and Trinity's ship. The Smith controlling Bane has infiltrated their ship. During their fight with Neo, Smith causes him to lose his eyes, but Neo begins to see the Smith without his eyes and thus defeats him. These scenes contain serious evidence that Zion is another simulation. How could Smith get out of the Matrix and into Zion? Could Neo be able to see a program the way it was in the real world? Since it is difficult to give rational answers to these questions, we have to accept Zion as another control mechanism, or Neo is a true Jesus. The machines now have 22 minutes to reach Zion, and the Commander Lock makes the final preparations. After the Captain Mifune gives a nice motivational speech to the armored units, they start to wait for the machines on the dock. Finally, the diggers reach the dock, and the inevitable battle begins. Meanwhile, Niobe and the others try to reach the Zion with the Sentinels after them. They finally manage to reach the dock and use EMP to finish all the machines there. But because using EMP disables the Zion defense systems, the machines send out a second wave. The Commander Lock seals the dock and draws people to the last place where they can defend, to the entrance of the temple, and thus save some more time. During this time, Neo and Trinity pass the defense systems and reach the city of machines, but in the meantime, the Trinity loses its life. Neo confronts the Deus Ex Machina and offers him not to destroy the Zion, and to achieve a peace in exchange for destroying the Smith, who will soon spread to the city of machines. The machines accept this offer, and the Neo is connected to the Matrix one last time. The Matrix has now been almost completely taken over by the Smith, and the Smith is now at its peak. Now he can do everything that Neo can do. Smith is sure that he will win, as he also copied the Prophet. But despite fighting in a rather destructive way, neither side can destroy each other. Smith tells Neo something very important right here. Everything that has a beginning has an end, Neo. Did you remember this sentence? It's the same sentence the Prophet said to the Neo. In addition, until this scene, Smith was constantly calling out to Neo as Mr. Anderson. It was the first time he said Neo here, because this was something he did against his will. It was the Oracle himself who said this. Thus, the meaning of the second important sentence he told Neo, "I will come with you until you go," would be understood. Everything was the Oracle's plan. The Oracle was originally created to understand human nature. But as the Oracle understood the human being in time, he began to disapprove of the architect's system. The prophet, who took a stand on the side of humans, aimed to achieve a peace between machines and people, unlike the architect who maintained the system through a continuous cycle of destruction and rebuilding. He made a plan for this. Normal procedure returns to the selected source, the password it carries is added to the system, 16 females select 7 males, and the Zion is destroyed and rebuilt. All the experiences of the chosen are used to prepare the next version of the Matrix, and the cycle continues like this. But the Oracle wanted to break this cycle. For this, the Oracle needed the chosen one. The prophet was preparing him for his plan with his interventions on the elected. Even telling Trini that he would fall in love with the chosen one was part of this plan, because the Neo had chosen the door on the left, because he was in love. The intention of the prophet was that Neo would go to the city of machines, not the source. Because the Oracle, who predicted that Smith would pose a threat to the city of Matrix and machines in time, directed Neo to the city of machines. That's why when Neo closed his eyes, the machines were constantly seeing those 3 energy lines going to a city. So the Oracle had told Niobe that Neo would need your help, because if Niobe had not given his ship, Neo machines would not have been able to go to his city. Throughout the story, the prophet tells the Neo that he will have to decide who will die. He had to decide whether Morpheus and Trinity would die. But at the end of the story, the Neo understood that in order to destroy the Smith, he had to destroy himself. This is actually what the Oracle was trying to tell the Neo. Because the Oracle gave his eyes to Sati, the Smith could not use the Oracle's visions. And after the Smith said, "Everything with a beginning has an end, Neo," he noticed the Oracle's trap but still succumbed to his ambition and began to copy the Neo. Another thing Smith didn't take into account was that the Neo was linked to the Matrix from the city of machines. When Neo let the Smith copy himself and the Neo's codes became Smith's codes, the source cleared the Smith from all the programs that the Smith was infected with. Neo sacrificed himself for humanity, and peace was achieved. This plan of the prophet is a great revolution for the Matrix, so the third movie is called Revolution's Seraph Oracle at the end of the story. Did you know everything? When asked, the answer given by the Oracle is quite meaningful. No, I didn't know, but I believed it.